Milan are about to rule the world. Next season, they will dominate Calcio. They will dominate the Serie A. Maybe, just maybe, these things are possible. They can happen. Milan have money, but it all comes down to appointing the right people at managerial level, at board level, sporting director. I'm here to discuss the rumours of Allegri potentially, maybe, there's a small chance of Allegri coming back to Milan, a club that he represented decades ago. What do I make of it? Allegri, a Juventus legend, a man that won 5 Scudettos in a row. Let's be real. When you think Serie A, when you think Italian football, Allegri is one of the managers that comes to mind. But in the modern game, in 2025, does Allegri impose himself like some of the top managers across the world? Can Allegri rebuild, stabilize, revolutionize a team? Is Allegri what Milan need? Now, before I give my opinion, at the end, I personally have two managers where if I was in charge, I would probably appoint them instead. But let's just familiarize ourselves with Allegri. He represented Milan between 2010 and 2014. He had a 51.69 win rate. Now, that's impressive, but you have to take into consideration that was a talented Milan squad. We're talking Ibrahimovic, Robinho, Seedorf, Nesta, Gattuso, Pato. If I remember correctly, I think Cassano was there. I think baby Thiago Silva was there. It was a talented team. But you could see a 51.69 win percentage. After that, he made the step to Juventus. And I feel like his 2014 to 2019 period is where Allegri will be remembered the most. 5 Scudettos in a row, a 70.48 win percentage. Let's just say that was a period where Juventus were on top of the world. Juventus were the best team in Calcio, in Serie A. Juventus were dominating the global stage. Juventus were just winning title after title after title. They had the stars, they had the players, they had the pool. Everything was in Juventus' way, in their favour. After that, took a few years out of the game, came back to Juventus. But let's just say these are where my question marks come into play, because this wasn't the same Allegri. This was an Allegri with a 53.69 win percentage. Fair enough, the squad wasn't as talented, but it was during a period of the game where football is forever changing. There was more focus now on Allegri. Can he coach? Can he tactically set up his team in a way to impose themselves, to nullify, to penetrate the opposition? The modern game, there's a lot of focus on structure, tactics, systems. That's where I looked at Allegri and I looked at Juve and I told myself, this is a chapter that needs to come to an end. Now, if we were to familiarise ourselves with some of the trophies that he's won throughout his career. In Milan, he won the Serie A in 2011. He also won the Supercoppa that year. Like I said, once he made the step to Juventus, 5 Serie A's, 4 Coppa Italias, 2 Supercoppas and 2 Champions League finals. Then he returned to Juventus, let's just say Coppa Italia, in very entertaining fashion, if you remember the game. And after that, he was relieved of his duties. And as of now, he is a free agent, hence the rumours to Milan. Now, in my honest opinion, I look at Allegri and I tell myself, his tactics, his structure, his way of managing in the modern game, it's very obsolete. It's very old school. It's very old fashioned. And I feel like only certain clubs with certain players suit a manager like Allegri. And it's no surprise. It didn't really work out for him the second time around at Juventus because they didn't have the same crop of players. I feel like this generation of footballers, they're snowflakes. I feel like you need to put your arm around them. You practically have to guide them through every step of their career. I look at Allegri, and this isn't me insinuating that he doesn't have these skills or these attributes in his locker book, but I feel like there's better managers that suit this crop of Milan players. Like, if I were to summarize it and break it down in simpler terms, I look at it like this. It's you either take the short-term fix or you take the long-term project. And I feel like a lot of teams that are drowning and that aren't performing the way that they're accustomed to, they ain't performing the way that we've all seen them perform over the past few years. They always want the short-term fix because they want to get to the top as quick as possible. The problem is short-term fixes aren't, it's literally in the name, short-term fix. It's just 1-2 years of joy and then the building crashes, the building collapses. I'm more in favor of projects, and fair enough. Projects, sometimes they don't live up to expectations. Sometimes you can waste 3-4 years into a project and you never reap the rewards of it. But it all comes down, when you decide to go down the path of a project, you need to appoint the right manager, the right sporting director. You need to recruit the correct players. You need to build the correct camp, the correct environment. Everybody has to be in sync. Everybody has to understand the objectives and work hand in hand. And so many times across the world, across football, we've seen teams undergo the route of a project, but they don't appoint the right people. They don't recruit the correct players. They don't give a manager time. They don't appoint the right manager. Every modern day manager has a project, but some projects are better than others. And me personally, Allegri, back to Milan. In my opinion, I've never ever been a fan of managers going back to their clubs. The same as I've never ever been a fan of players going back to a club they represented before. I feel like once the chapter has come to an end, move on, appoint somebody different. I personally look at this Milan squad and tell myself, I would really like to see a project. Because, listen, the pull is there, the money is there, the history is there. As much as Milan have had a poor campaign this year, I still look at this squad and say there are some talented players that are just one step away from fulfilling their potential and potentially taking Milan back to where they belong. I look at Rafa Leao, I look at Reinders, I look at Pulisic, I look at Santi Jimenez. Fair enough, he's drowning at the moment, but this is a dude that knows how to put the ball into the back of the net. Like I said, money is there, pull is there, history is there, the fan base is there, the pedigree is there. I would really like to see Milan enter the era of going down a project. Now, fair enough, people might say, well, Paulo Fonseca, he was a project manager. I look at Paulo Fonseca and I tell myself, what he had done in the game to earn the move to Milan, it wasn't too impressive. Then you go into Sergio Conceição. It's from the Portuguese league. The step up from Liga NOS into Serie A, it's too big. And I look at his overall management style. He's very aggressive. He loves fight. This is a very talented, technical Milan squad. And me personally, I break it down like this. Short-term fix, project. Me, project, I look at somebody like Maurizio Sarri. He's won in the Serie A. His football, wherever he's gone, it's imposed itself across some of the best teams in the world. His teams have always had an identity. They've always had a style of play. They've been teams that have been a joy to watch. And with the right recruitment, with the correct investment, he's shown I can win. Like his Lazio team, his Napoli team, his Juve team. Fair enough. He might be a tough character. He might be difficult to work with. He might be stubborn in his ways. But listen, the best of managers are stubborn in their ways. Why? Because they know it reaps the rewards. Somebody else for me, and I've read that he is a Milanista, like he is a Milan fan, is Roberto De Zerbi. Now, fair enough. People, when appointing managers, might say, I want a winner. Milan, they need a winner. They need somebody that knows how to win, that knows how to handle the big occasion. I feel like before somebody becomes a winner, they were always nobody. You have to put them in an environment where you now test them and challenge them to win. And for me, De Zerbi is definitely somebody that I look at and say, with the right tools, with the right investment, he's got everything for a modern day coach, for a young up and coming manager to go out there, succeed and win. Brighton, I feel like he punched above his weight. There was good investment, but you look at the way he transformed that team, the way he revamped the team, the football they were playing under De Zerbi, it was taking the Premier League by storm. Then he makes the step into Marseille. Marseille are definitely punching above their weight. Once again, there's been recruitment, but you look at the brand, you look at the style of football, you look at the fact that players, they're willing to run through a brick wall for him. And he's the manager that's shown me every step throughout his career, he's grown, he's elevated, he's learned. And I feel like now he's definitely earned the move to a big team, to a team where people will look at him and say, listen, you've had your rookie years. You've had your years where you were gaining the necessary experience. You've had your years where you weren't under the spotlight, but now you've reached a stage of your managerial career where let's see if you can do what not many managers have shown they can do. Can you overcome that last hurdle between you and a trophy? Can you win silverware? Can you deliver the goods? Can you step up and lead and manage and transform a top team? And for me, De Zerbi's brand of football is something that I think this Milan team needs more than anything. They need an identity. With identity, with an attractive style of football, fans begin to look forward to games. Players want to play for the team. Players want to play for a manager. Players want to come to Milan, because I feel like regardless of finances, in terms of wages, in terms of transfer fee, your brand of football is a key selling point to future players. They need to look at Milan and tell themselves, listen, I like that football. I can grow in that team. I have something to offer. I look at Allegri and I tell myself, winner, shown he can win, but can he win at this stage of football against all of these tactic systems? And this isn't me saying that he has no tactics, he has no system. I just feel like his tactics and system, they need too much tweaking in order to impose themselves in the modern game. Like, for me, he's a manager of the past. And as wild as this may sound, I look at Allegri and say, if Milan were to appoint him, he's a winner, but I still feel like it's one step forwards, two steps backwards. Bring in a young up-and-coming manager, or even Sarri, but Sarri's projects he's shown worldwide. Give me the keys and I will transform this team. And this Milan team, for me, they've pumped a lot of money, but what they need now is transformation. What these Milan players need more than anything is coaching. A manager that can sit them down and tell them, you're doing this right and you're doing this wrong. Now let's work on what you do wrong and let's try and master what you do right. Sarri has shown he can elevate, he can develop players regardless of their age, regardless of how much they were signed for. Roberto De Zerbi, Brighton, even at Sassuolo. I feel like the football, it was impressive. Fair enough, the results weren't there. But listen, you could see the identity. You could see the blueprint. I personally would go down the route of a project. Somebody like a Sarri, if you want pedigree winner, somebody that understands the Serie A. If you're willing to take a bigger gamble, I do look at De Zerbi and say, you've earned a move to a top club. Can you now come into this team? But whilst transforming them, can you also win? So, in my opinion, Allegri to Milan, it's probably something that maybe should have happened 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. Not in 2025. Not with this crop of players. Fair enough, he might stabilise the team. He might take them a few steps forwards, but for me, it's just a short-term fix, because in 1-2 years' time, we will be sat here having the same conversation. But listen, at the end of the day, I want to hear you guys' opinions in the comments. Now, if you're new, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to let me know what you think in the comments, and I will catch you guys on another one.